You walk through the door, you haven't even put your bag down yet, and before you've said a word, before you've exhaled, your dog is already there, licking your hand, your wrist, maybe going straight for your face if you let them. And you think, that's love. That's my dog saying hello. That's just what dogs do. And you're not wrong exactly, but you're also not seeing the whole picture, because that lick, the one you've watched 1,000 times and thought you completely understood, is doing something far more specific than you realized. And once you understand what it actually is, you won't be able to look at it the same way again. Let's start with the explanation most people reach for. Either it's affection or, and this one sounds almost scientific, your dog likes the salt in your skin. You've probably heard that. Sweat leaves a salty residue, dogs have sensitive tongues, so they lick you because you basically taste good. It's tidy, it makes sense. Except, a researcher at Psychology Today actually tested it. 20 dogs, 2 knees each, one wiped with a salt solution, one left plain. If the salt theory were real, you'd expect a clear preference. There wasn't one. The dogs spent almost identical time licking each knee. No meaningful difference. The salty skin explanation is not a finding. It's a story that spread because it felt plausible. And dogs actually have far fewer salt receptors than humans do, and none at the tip of the tongue, which is the part doing most of the licking. The biology doesn't even support it. So if it's not salt, what is it? The most honest answer from behavioral scientists is this: it's communication. But that answer is the beginning of the mystery, not the end of it. Because what your dog is communicating depends entirely on the moment. And here is where things get genuinely strange. Licking is not a fixed signal. It doesn't mean one thing. The same behavior in 2 different situations can mean almost opposite things. There's a behavior canine researchers and trainers have named the lick to dismiss. A quick, light lick, maybe on your hand or your face, paired with a slightly stiff body, eyes glancing away, a subtle lean back. That's not affection. That's your dog telling you to give them some space. It's a social maneuver, polite but firm. If you've ever leaned in for a cuddle and gotten a single fast lick before your dog turned away, that was probably not a kiss. That was a boundary, delivered in the gentlest possible way. That lands differently, doesn't it? But now it gets more interesting, because licking doesn't only show up when dogs are happy or tolerating you or trying to end an interaction. Research published in 2023 found that dogs lick more in response to sad or negative human facial expressions than to neutral or positive ones. And an earlier study found that when people pretended to cry, dogs approached them more, including strangers, compared when those same people were calmly talking or humming. The behavior was consistent with what researchers describe cautiously as an empathy-adjacent response. Think about that. Your dog may be licking you not because they're happy, but because they've read something on your face and they're responding to it. The lick you got the night you came home exhausted, the one after a fight, the quiet one when you were sitting alone and didn't think anyone noticed. Your dog noticed. They were watching you in ways you didn't know you were being watched.
There's also something even older underneath all of this. Wolf pups and domestic dog pups lick the mouths of returning adults to trigger regurgitation. That's how they got food before they could eat solid meals on their own. Alexandra Horowitz, a dog cognition researcher at Barnard College, has pointed out that the homecoming lick carries traces of that ancient behavior. Your dog's greeting, the enthusiastic face lick when you walk through the door, it is emotional, yes, but it is also ancestral. It is older than the house you live in, older than the breed your dog belongs to. It is a behavior that was already there, encoded into the animal before your dog ever met you. Which raises one more question. Why do they do this with you specifically? Adult dogs almost never lick other adult dogs the way they lick humans. Between dogs, sustained face licking is puppy behavior. Grown dogs don't do it to each other, but they do it to us, constantly. Why? The answer is domestication, and it goes much deeper than most people realize. When dogs were domesticated, a process that unfolded over thousands of years, something unusual happened. Certain behaviors that would normally fade as an animal matures got frozen in place. The technical term is neoteny, the retention of juvenile traits into adulthood. Domestic dogs whine more than wild canids, they play more, they orient towards faces more, and they lick more. These are puppy behaviors, and in domestic dogs, they never fully go away. What this means is both simple and slightly overwhelming. Your dog is not treating you like a peer. They are treating you like a caregiver, a parent in the only framework their nervous system has. The licking is part of a lifelong behavioral orientation that domestication built into them specifically for life with humans. They were shaped across generations to stay behaviorally young with us, to keep reaching for us, to keep watching us and signaling to us and trying to communicate across a gap that language can't cross. And the biology of it is just as striking. When your dog licks you, their brain is active. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same one that ties human parents to their children, releases during close contact between dogs and their owners. It moves in both directions. Your dog gets it, you get it. The licking is not just social behavior, it is a neurochemical exchange. And for anxious dogs in particular, the act of licking itself, the repetitive motion, activates something calming in their own nervous system, reducing internal arousal. For some dogs, the lick you interpret as affection is actually closer to self-soothing. They're not just telling you something, they're regulating themselves through the act of reaching for you. There's also a University of Lincoln study conducted with researchers in Brazil that found dogs lick more when looking at angry human faces than happy ones, more in response to negative emotion than positive, and more in response to human faces than other dogs' faces. The researchers believe this tendency was selected during domestication, meaning across thousands of years, the dogs who were tuned to human distress, who responded to human emotional states, who tried to communicate across that gap, those were the dogs who survived, who were kept, who reproduced. Your dog is not licking you randomly. Your dog is reading you, and licking is one of the ways they answer what they find, which is why it matters when it changes. If your dog suddenly starts licking more, obsessively, compulsively, or in ways that feel different from what's normal for them, that's worth paying attention to. Excessive licking, especially when it's self-directed, aimed at objects, or seems driven and hard to interrupt, is one of the signals veterinary behaviorists flag for anxiety, digestive discomfort, or in older dogs, early cognitive change. The behavior isn't random then either. If licking is communication, then a sudden escalation in that language is your dog trying harder to say something, and what they're trying to say may not be about you at all. It may be about pain they can't show you any other way.
The reverse matters too. A dog who used to lick and stops, especially in the context of other behavioral shifts, is worth checking in on. Communication going quiet is still communication. So go back to that moment at the door. Your bag hitting the floor, your dog already there, tongue out, working at your wrist before you've said a word. You know what you used to think that was. Now you know it's older than you imagined. It's a trace of wolf pups at the mouth of a den, asking for food from a returning adult, softened across millennia into something that just barely resembles a greeting. It's your dog scanning your face before you've spoken, reading your posture, your smell, the tension in your jaw, and responding to what they find there. It's a neurochemical handshake, oxytocin running in both directions, two nervous systems briefly syncing through a gesture most people wave off as slobbery and sweet. It's a juvenile behavior that domestication preserved specifically so your dog could keep reaching for you across their whole life in the only language they have. You thought it was a kiss, and maybe it is in the only way your dog knows how to give one. But it is also something far older, far more specific, and far more personal than that. If your dog licked you today, you're probably looking at it a little differently now. Good. Watch them tonight. Not just the lick, but the moment around it. What were you doing? What did your face look like? Did they hold it or give one quick touch and pull away? The conversation has been happening this whole time. You're just starting to hear it.